Hey, hello friends, and welcome to this new Flutter tutorial. In this we're going to be taking a look at parsing XML and JSON data in Flutter. So just for demonstration purposes, I do have these two XML and JSON file here. So I have this in the assets folder inside the data folder, and I have these two files, contact.xml and contacts.json. So they both basically have the same data with a name, email, and the age. So in the JSON you can see that I have a JSON array with different elements, and in the contact.xml I do have this data tag that contains multiple contact tags, in which each of the contact tags is having a name, email, and age. So okay, so what we want to do is we want to read both of these files and show the data in the scaffold on the screen in place of this text view in the form of a list. And one more thing, that when you add these files to the assets folder, you need to add them to the pubspec.yaml file also in the Flutter section in the assets. Okay, so so in the main.dart file I do have this my app, which is a stateless widget which returns a material app and which further returns a home page of my home page. That is a stateless widget. So that is having an app bar that says data parser and a container which has hello world. So basically we don't really need this text here. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a function in here that can parse the JSON. So we'll be starting off with the JSON first. Okay, so let us create a function. And one more thing, we also need to create a class. In the lib folder, let's just create a new class. We'll create a new Dart file and name it contact. And in the contact, I'll create a new class, contact string name email, and I'll take it as an int age. So I'll have a constructor, this dot underscore name comma this dot underscore age. Instead I'll just keep it at email, and this dot underscore age. Okay, so other than this I can have a factory method of contact dot from JSON and map string and dynamic. Let's say dynamic because it can be of any type, int or string in our case. So we'll see if JSON is equal to null. So basically it will return null, and we're not going to care about it in this tutorial, but in the other case what we will do is we will return contact JSON, and we'll get a name from there, and contact. Okay, so a name from there, and email from there, and an age from there. Okay, so what this name, email, and age is, this represents the data in the JSON file, that is name, email, and age. So what we're going to do is we're going to read each item in the JSON file, in the JSON array, and we're going to convert it to a contact object. Okay, so this is just a simple PODO file, plain old Dart object. Okay, so we're also going to create some getters. Get name, this dot underscore name, and let's copy this a few more times. Instead of this I'm going to return email, and I'm going to return age. So we'll take it as age and email. So the reason why I kept it as a map is because in both the cases we're gonna get the in case of JSON we're gonna get it from a JSON array, and we're gonna receive it as a JSON object, which is basically a map of string and type dynamic, because it can contain integers, floats, doubles, whatever you name it. So we have to keep a dynamic type here. Okay, so we pass it the JSON object, and it's going to convert it to a contact object directly instead of us doing the work there. So this is just a simple Podo class, and okay, so now what we can do is we can create a new function here. So let's create a new function. It will return a feature of list of contact, and let's just name it get contacts from JSON. Okay, and we need to make it async because we're gonna get the files from assets. So that's gonna be an async process. And let me just import package Flutter parsing contact here. So okay, so what we need to do now is we need to get a string of the JSON string, and we're going to read it from the assets. So the way to do that is we need to call default asset bundle dot off context and dot load string. So this is going to return us a string of the contents of the file, basically. So it's going to read this file, the context.json, which we're going to pass here, assets slash data slash contacts.json, and this is going to return us the context of this file in the form of a string. So we have to put await here, and in the context, okay. So we also need to pass in the context here. So build context and context, okay. So this removes the error. And one more thing, after we get the string, we need to parse the JSON, okay. So for that, what we need to do is we need to call a method called JSON decode and pass in the JSON string as a resource to it. Okay, so the JSON decode is given to you by the Dart convert package that is given to you by Dart itself. So you don't really need to have any other package, any other custom package for this. This is given to you by Dart. So what you can do is JSON decode and pass in the JSON string that you get from the assets. And what this will return you is a list of dynamic. Okay, it's gonna return you a list of dynamic because at this point it doesn't really know what it is. So let me just call it raw. And what we need to do is we need to loop through this raw and convert it to a list. So because the function that we have to make returns a list of contact. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do raw.map, and in this we'll have a function for which we'll get a raw object, a dynamic, and for each of that object, what we need to do is we need to create a new contact, and we'll pass contact dot from JSON, and in the form of JSON, we'll pass in f. And okay, so this will not suffice. We need to return it. Okay, so we'll convert that to a list. Okay. So this is the thing that we need to do. And so basically at this point it can work. Let's just create a new list to show this data to see if it is working. Okay, so let's just create a list to test if the get context from JSON is working or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a FutureBuilder because we're going to receive a future. So the first thing, so we don't forget, is we're going to pass it a future that is going to be get context from JSON, and we're going to pass it the context. And we need a semicolon here, and in the builder what we need to do is in the builder that is going to give us context and the data. So in the data, what we need to do is we need to check if the data, if data dot has data, then we're going to process it, or else we're going to return a circular progress indicator, and we're going to center it. In the center, we're going to circular progress indicator, and that is fine. And also, if the data has the data, we're going to get a list from that. list contact, and we're gonna name it contacts is equal to data.data. And when we get the data, we're gonna return a ListView builder, and in the item builder, what we can do is we can pass the item count. Let me just scroll a bit down here. We can pass the item count that is going to be contacts length, and it's gonna, in the builder, item builder, it's gonna return us a context comma index, and here we need to pass in a semicolon, and it's gonna return us a list tile. And in the list tile, what I will do is I will get a title that is gonna have a text, and the text is gonna be context index and dot name. So, and I'm also gonna style it a bit, text style, and in here I'm gonna pass size. We're gonna keep it at 25, maybe 25.0, and font weight, we're gonna keep it at font weight dot bold. That's gonna be okay. And also alongside the title, I'm just gonna add a subtitle also. So that's gonna be text contacts index dot email. So yeah, this is gonna be the list. And okay, so let me check it. We have a future builder. We're giving it a future, and in the builder we check if the data, if it has data. If it has data, we're going to create a list, or else we're going to return a circular progress indicator. So I'm just going to see if there are any errors. Okay, so we also need a semicolon here. I'm going to run the project. Okay, so we do have a list here. It is having a text as a heading and a subtitle, that is email, as the subtitle. So okay, we have a future builder, and we're parsing the data from the JSON. So let me just repeat what we did in the JSON part. So basically we had a file of contacts.json. We're going to read that file from the assets using default asset bundle.auth context, and we load the data in the form of a string. So then what we do is we use JSON decode, what is given to you by Dart convert. This is not an external library, it's given to you by Dart. So we're giving the string of JSON to this JSON decode, and it's going to return us a list of dynamic. And it's not really compulsory to return it a list of dynamic. Basically, this part is what we have to provide it. So when we look at the JSON, we know that it's going to be an array of, that is a list of objects. So we pass a list of dynamic here to make it to tell Dart that basically whatever comes, whatever the data is, it's in the form of a list of items, list of dynamic. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take this raw data and we're going to map through it, and we're going to convert each of the map to its corresponding contact, and we're going to return it as a list. So this is just a simple function to read the JSON. So now what we need to do is we need to do the same thing for the other file that we have here, that is contact.xml. And we have the same type of data. So let's get started. So for this, what we need to do is we need to add a package to our app. And for that, we need to go to the pubspec.yaml file. In the dependencies section, we need to add XML, and we'll add a version. Let me see the version here. So we have the package here. It's called XML. So the version is 3.5.0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this. So this package is really great. Basically, it gives you really nice functions to read the XML file, and you can also create your own XML file using the package. So here is the section of building. So you can build your own XML files using this package in Flutter. So if you find it interesting, you can go through this package and get to know more about this package. So I'm going to minimize it, and we'll go back to our project. So I'll just do package upgrade once again and just close this pubspec.yaml file. So what we need to do now is we need to create another function. So what I'll just make it return is, I'm just gonna copy the exact thing here. I'm not gonna write anything, so I'm just gonna, okay, so the thing here is we're gonna get context from XML this time, and we're gonna pass it the context, and we're gonna do the same thing of reading the data from the asset file. This time it's gonna be contact.xml, and we're gonna name it XML string. So we're gonna remove other two steps, and what we need to do now is we need to like parse the XML. So we can do that by using the we need to import the XML package first. So we'll go up in the Dart section, we'll import XML dot, and I'm gonna import it as a variable. I'm gonna import it as XML. So down here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call XML.parse, and we're gonna give it an XML string that we just got from the assets, and it's gonna return us something. I guess it's gonna be XML elements, but we're just gonna keep it raw is equal to XML.parse. And now what we need to do from this is we need to create elements. That is the XML elements. So basically what this XML parse does is, you can see from here it returns this XML document. Okay, so you can read more about that in the XML package itself. So we're gonna pass it an XML string, and it's gonna return us a raw. And from that raw, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the elements. That is each contact object. So what we can do is we can call raw.find elements, find all elements. So what we need to pass in the argument is the tag name. So if we pass in contact here, it is going to return us each and every element that is in the contact tag. Okay, so there are 6 contacts, and it's going to return us all those 6 in the form of a list. So we'll get that in the elements. So now what we need to do is we need to map through all the elements, elements.map, and it's going to give us the different elements. It's going to give us each element. So basically element, and what we're going to do here is, let me just put a semicolon and 2 list here, because we're going to return a list. So what we're going to do here is we're going to return contact, and in the contact, from each element we need to find another element that is with the name of name, and we need to get its first element and get a text from there. So basically what I did here is, so first we read the XML string file and we passed it to the XML parser. So the parser is then going to return us the XML document, and then from the document we get all the elements with the contact tag. Okay, so you can see that each contact is then having a name, email, and age. So okay, so now what we need to do is we need to parse through all the 6 elements, that is each of the contacts tag, and in that elements we need to get each element and find another element called name in there. So basically this is also going to return us a list, but we only need to get the first element, that is element.find elements. So it's going to return us all the name elements, but we know that we only have one name element in each of the contact. Okay, so for each name element, that is for the first name element, because there is only one, we need to get the text. That is the content of the text. That is Keanu Reeves in this case, or Tony Stark, or Black Widow, and so on. So we need to do the same thing for all the other two, sorry. And I'll just paste it here and paste it here. And okay, so we can't really just paste it here. It's an integer, so we need to do int.parse, int.parse, and here we're gonna pass that string. So it's really getting long. I'm just gonna move it to the next line so you can better understand it. Okay, so comma and remove that from here. So okay, so I need to change it to email and age here. So, okay, so we're creating the contact from each element in the elements array, and we're going to return it. So at this point, the XML parser is done, I guess. So let's just test it. What we'll do is we'll just replace the get context from JSON to get context from XML, and we're going to pass the contact. And let me just close the app. So let me just close everything out and just remove the app, and we're going to run it again. Okay, so we have the data here. We have Keanu Reeves for this email and all the data, and this time we're reading it from the XML file. Okay, so let me just explain the whole process of XML again. So the first step is to get the data from the assets or any other source that you have from the internet or from anywhere else. You get the data in the form of a string, and from the string you parse the XML using the xml.parse function. Because you know that I imported the xml.dart in as a variable, that is the XML. So I'm going to use xml.parse here, which is going to get the string, and it's going to return us with an XML document. So this document is further containing the tags. So we call it raw.findAllElements with the name of tag, with the name of contact, and it's going to return us all the elements. So from all the elements, we're going to map through each of them, and we're going to take each of the contact element and get the name, email, and age fields from each of those elements and convert it to a contact object from the class that we created here and convert it to a list. So this is just a simple map method that's returning us the new list of contacts, basically. Okay, so I hope you learned much in this tutorial. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button if you like the tutorial, and for more Flutter tutorials coming your way, do subscribe to the channel, and see you next time. Peace.